No, don't kill me, I can make you happy. Before me stood a woman of breathtaking beauty, her figure exquisitely alluring, skin flawlessly smooth and body gracefully slender. As she approached, I instantly snapped awake, swinging the peachwood sword in my hand. With a single strike, her head flew from her neck, and her fair body transformed into a headless white fox. I curled my lips into a cold sneer. A mere fox spirit dares to use her wiles on me. You clearly don't know that I possess the Daoist's innate sacred body, known in the martial world as Daoist Cao Xie. In a small village, a series of bizarre murders had been occurring. The men in the village were all found dead in their homes at night. At the time of their deaths, they were all naked, their faces shriveled, hair turned white, and all their life force seemingly drained. Their deaths were utterly gruesome, yet a smile was etched on their lips as if they had experienced extreme pleasure in their final moments. The authorities dispatched investigators for 3 days, but they found not a single clue. In the end, they could only invent the excuse that the men had died suddenly from excessive drinking, then left in disappointment. Yet, the very next day, another person died in the same grim condition. The venerable village elder, a man of great experience, suspected that these cases were beyond human capability. He braved the long journey to Dragon Tiger Mountain to invite me down. On the mountain, as the elder described the situation, I immediately knew it was supernatural evil at play. Arriving at the village, I already had a plan in mind. I borrowed a rusty axe from the villagers, disguised myself as a lost woodcutter, and wandered the mountain all night. Finally, I lured the fox spirit into revealing itself. Initially, it cast a minor spell, causing a light drizzle, then transformed into a stunning beauty. Under the pretext of seeking shelter from the rain, it lured me into its cave. As I stepped into the illusory dwelling conjured from its cave, the woman parted her red lips, exhaling a bewitching fragrance. I felt my mind grow hazy, my face burning hot. She chuckled, revealing perfectly white teeth, then gently beckoned me closer. I felt as if I were walking on clouds, unconsciously moving towards the bed. Seeing my compliance, she spoke no more, her slender fingers beginning to trace along my robes, intending to disrobe me, her jade-white skin glimpsed beneath the thin silk, her body a cascade of seductive curves. I feigned embarrassment, burying my face in the covers, my face as red as a gourd. She pulled back the covers, embraced me, and gently stroked my head. Suddenly, I heard 2 distinct hisses above my head. Immediately afterward, she revealed her true form with razor-sharp claws. Mere inches from death, I let out a cold grunt, unleashing a palm strike onto its back. The fox spirit spewed a mouthful of purple blood, collapsing motionless to the ground. I summoned my peach wood sword, intending to finish off the demon. It retracted its claws, wiped the blood from the corner of its mouth, still struggling, rising to writhe and display its sensual form, attempting to ensnare me with its beauty. Little did it know, I possessed the rare Daoist sacred body, a phenomenon seen once in a millennium. For me, any beautiful woman would turn into a withered skeleton within 3 breaths. Thus, the scene from earlier unfolded. After vanquishing the fox spirit, I prepared to return to the mountains. Suddenly, a voice called out, "Master Daoist, please halt." Before I saw him, his voice reached me. I looked up and saw a man whose face was etched with terror running towards me. Closer now, he was wearing coarse cloth robes and short boots with a mustache shaped like the character Ba, meaning 8. As we faced each other, the fear on his face shifted to surprise. "Master Daoist, your trousers have slipped down." I hastily pulled up my trousers, my face showing annoyance. "What business is it of yours? Can't I be hot?" He nodded, seemingly understanding, but then remembered his urgent matter, and panic flared in his eyes. "Master Daoist, please save a life." On the way, I learned that this man's name was Wang San, the steward of Master Wang, the wealthiest man in the region. The one harmed by the Jiangshi was Master Wang himself. Upon arriving at the Wang Manor, even before stepping through the gate, I heard the echoing sounds of trumpets and drums from beyond the walls. As I set foot into the first courtyard of the 3-section mansion, I was met with a chaotic scene. Bands playing, monks chanting, Daoists performing rituals, servants rushing about, and family members busy. The sounds of music, scriptures, and chattering voices intertwined into a cacophonous mess. This scale alone was enough to reveal the immense wealth of the Wang family. Wang San led me past the noisy scene directly to the main hall, facing south. Just as we reached the hall's entrance, an unusual silence reigned within, not a sound. The moment Wang San stepped inside, a dry, rasping sob instantly erupted. I mused to myself, it seems Master Wang, though rich beyond measure, lacked true human affection. Inside the hall in the center sat a gleaming black coffin, over 7 feet long and 4 feet wide, crafted from ebony. Its surface, smooth as if oiled, exuded an aura of oppressive wealth. Beside the coffin knelt 2 women in white mourning robes. The older woman raised her head, her phoenix eyes and moth-like brows seeming to hold the melancholic waters of autumn. She wore no gold or jade ornaments, only a silver hairpin in her hair. The mourning cloth on her head further highlighted her fair, rosy skin, red lips, and white teeth. Behind her was a young girl of about 16 or 17, her face still delicate, with a hint of childish plumpness. Looking closely, I noticed the young girl's mourning attire was merely coarse cloth, hastily sewn, a stark contrast to the luxurious silk worn by the elder woman. "Master Daoist, this is the Master's second madam," Wang San introduced respectfully, his face etched with obsequiousness. "Please, Master Daoist, lend your assistance. Zhao Qiui, quickly pour tea for the Master Daoist." The second madam nodded slightly, instructing the young girl beside her. The girl replied with a yes and stepped out. I waved a hand. "Exorcising demons and vanquishing evil is the Daoist's duty, madam. There is no need for such formalities." As I spoke, I carefully observed the second madam's expression, but her face was as placid as still water, devoid of any ripples of emotion. I thought to myself, indeed, in a grand family like this, everyone wears a mask. Finding no clues, I turned my attention to the coffin. "Please, madam, temper your sorrow. Is this Master Wang's coffin?" The second madam nodded slightly, frowning. She dabbed the corner of her eye with a silk handkerchief, yet not a single tear fell. I took a few steps forward and looked inside the coffin, involuntarily frowning. Inside lay a corpulent corpse adorned with gold and silver, a pigeon egg-sized luminous pearl in its mouth. This must be the notoriously wealthy Master Wang. He had clearly been dead for less than a day, his face was still intact, but his eyes were wide open, unseeing in death. A large chunk of flesh had been bitten off his neck, though hastily covered, it was still stained with blood. According to Wang San, Master Wang died suddenly and inexplicably, but I smiled at the second madam. "He is gone now, grieving is useless. Please take care of yourself. But tell me, besides Master Wang, has anyone else in this manner been harmed by a Jiangshi?" Hearing this, though the second madam concealed it skillfully, I caught a fleeting glimmer of resentment in her eyes. She immediately said, "Please forgive me, Master Daoist. My heart is heavy with sorrow and my mind is clouded. My eyes are dim, unable to clearly see all that transpires in the manor. Wang San knows everything. Master Daoist, please ask him." With that, she walked straight out without looking back. Wang San was briefly flustered but dared not defy her order, so he replied, "I won't hide anything from the Master Daoist. 3 days ago, the first madam was also killed by a Jiangshi. She has already joined our ancestors." Hearing that another person had died, I found it strange and simply smiled, pressing on, "So where is the first madam's body now? May I examine it?" Wang San's expression immediately changed, and he stammered awkwardly, "Please forgive me, Master Daoist. The first madam passed away 3 days ago, and the weather has been hot. If her body were left in the mourning hall for too long, it would surely begin to decompose, desecrating her dignity. So, she was interred on the very same day. This humble one knows the Master Daoist wishes to catch the Jiangshi, which is why you ask so thoroughly. But now that the first madam rests peacefully underground, exhuming her grave would disturb her spirit and harm the manor's reputation." Hearing this, I immediately understood his intentions. Though I was certain there was something fishy about this, his words were airtight, and I found it inconvenient to press further. I could only shake my head, glancing at Master Wang's corpse, then turned to Wang San and asked, "Steward, you're so certain that both Master Wang and the first madam were harmed by a Jiangshi. You must have seen it with your own eyes then. Was it male or female? What did it look like?" Wang San saw that I wasn't asking further about the first madam, and his expression softened slightly, but then he suddenly seemed to recall something terrifying, and his eyes filled with genuine panic. It did not look feigned. That Jiangshi was truly terrifying. Even now, thinking back, my heart pounds. This morning, around dawn, as I was dozing off, there was movement by my bed, and I smelled a strong stench. I opened my eyes and saw the Jiangshi right beside me. It was wearing a blue official's robe and a court necklace. It must have been dead for many years. Its face was putrid and grayish-green, covered in grave dirt as if it had just crawled out of a tomb. Its two greenish hands with claws extended were poised to pounce on me. Luckily, a rooster crowed and it panicked, crashed into the door and vanished. Hearing his clear account, a flicker of doubt crossed my mind. Could there truly be a Jiangshi? As I pondered, a clear, melodious female voice like an oriole foolishly spoke up from beside my ear. Was that Jiangshi male? It was clearly female. Clank, the sound of a teacup being set down forcefully rang out. Zhang Xiuying paid no mind to Wang San's embarrassed face and spoke directly. That Jiangshi was a female Jiangshi with long hair. I saw it with my own eyes last night. Last night, when Master Wang met his end in the second madam's room, I helped the second madam adjust his posture and clothes. I saw Master Wang's terrifying state with my own eyes. I was so scared I couldn't sleep all night. In the middle of the night, when I got up to relieve myself, I saw a female Jiangshi leap past me and disappear. Though it was just a fleeting glimpse as I fled in panic, I'm certain I wasn't mistaken. With hair that long, it was definitely a female Jiangshi. Having spoken, Zhang Xiuying trembled slightly, as if the event had just happened before her eyes. Although the girl's words were somewhat incoherent, they still provided a clue. My eyes lit up. I looked directly at Zhang Xiuying. You said Master Wang died in the second madam's room? Zhang Xiuying nodded. Yes. The second madam said she only stepped out to fetch a basin of water to wash her feet, and when she returned, Master Wang had already been harmed by the Jiangshi. It even tried to harm her, but luckily she managed to escape. I paid no mind to the rest of her words. Master Wang died in the second madam's room, and the news of the Jiangshi also originated from her. Considering the second madam's peculiar actions, the identity of the killer who harmed both Master Wang and the first madam remained elusive. What made me hesitate was whether the culprit would only target these two, or if they would continue to strike if their intentions remained unfulfilled. At this thought, a flash of insight suddenly illuminated my mind, and everything became clear. The culprit's identity was now 80 or 90% certain. As long as I kept watch, they would not be able to harm anyone else. As a Daoist, my duty was to save living beings from calamity. Apprehending the culprit was the magistrate's responsibility. Night was approaching, and I feared the culprit would strike tonight. I decided to stay and stand guard, reporting to the authorities only tomorrow morning. With my decision made, I calmly instructed Wang San and Zhang Xiuying. Since the Jiangshi murdered Master Wang in the second madam's room, I believe that place is no longer safe. Tonight, I will guard outside the second madam's room. If either of you hears any unusual activity, simply call out loudly, and I will come immediately. Hearing this, their faces both revealed expressions of horror, as if still lingering in dread. Especially Zhang Xiuying, who seemed about to say something, but then stopped herself. The two exchanged glances, then each went to their own rooms. As the third watch approached, around 1:03 a.m., I sat on a grand armchair outside the second madam's room. The surroundings were silent. This was the most sleep-inducing time. My eyelids grew heavy. Suddenly, a piercing shriek echoed from afar. It was from the servants' quarters, from Wang San's room. I started, a cold sweat breaking out. I quickly activated my divine stride technique, reaching the scene in the blink of an eye. My only thought was, how could it have escaped my sight and gone outside? The door to the room was wide open. Wang San lay sprawled, still breathing. Looking closer, two distinct black fang marks were etched on his neck. 30 years of Daoist practice, I couldn't mistake it. This was unmistakably a Jiangshi bite. So, there really was a Jiangshi in the Wang Manor after all. This meant all my previous deductions were wrong. I quickly took out my Jiangshi compass to check, only to see the needle pointing directly to where I had just been. The Jiangshi was rushing towards the second madam's room. Without time to attend to Wang San's body, I poured all my strength into pursuit. With a few powerful leaps, I reached the second madam's door. It was still tightly shut. Without hesitation, I kicked it open with all my might. Inside the room, there was only a dying candle, its light flickering. The second madam, still half asleep, was startled by the noise, hastily pulling her legs to cover herself. Where is the Jiangshi? The compass clearly indicates it's here. I took out the compass again. The needle spun wildly. A chill ran down my spine. This meant the Jiangshi was hidden very close by. Suddenly, a desperate shriek came from the servants' quarters. It was Zhang Xiuying's voice. I didn't even have time to apologize to the second madam, immediately rushing back. I found Zhao Qiui frozen in place, her eyes wide, face pale, staring at Wang San's stiff body on the ground. Seeing Zhao Qiui unharmed, the heavy stone in my heart finally lifted. Her complexion was ashen like wax, the light in her eyes dim a sign of extreme fright. I formed a lotus seal with my right hand and pressed it onto the crown of her head. Zhao Qiui gasped, releasing a mouthful of turbid air, and only then fully awakened. Wang San has been infected with Jiangshi poison. He will turn into a Jiangshi instantly. His body absolutely cannot remain. As I spoke, I drew a cinnabar-soaked talisman from my robes, lightly touched it with a finger, and the talisman immediately burst into flames. I threw the talisman down, and Wang San's body erupted in fierce flames, instantly turning to ashes, leaving nothing behind. After I finished, I saw Zhao Qiui's eyes red-rimmed, tears streaming down. I felt a pang of guilt. Zhao Qiui, it was my carelessness and overconfidence that cost Steward Wang his life. I will immediately track down that Jiangshi and ensure its spirit is scattered into oblivion. Master Daoist, Zhao Qiui interrupted me, her eyes still brimming with tears, please follow me. She led me to a room in the west wing. As we entered, Zhao Qiui peeked her head out, scanning left and right before firmly closing the door. As I watched, perplexed, I saw her lips move as if to speak, but she hesitated. After a moment, as if having made a decision, she gritted her teeth and said, Master Daoist, please forgive me, I have deceived you. Seeing her face full of shame, I silently listened intently. Her tears finally spilled over. Wang San's death was well-deserved, and I too was. Just then, the door creaked open slightly. I knew someone was eavesdropping outside the door. I drew my peachwood sword and flung it, chasing after. I saw only a shadowy figure with long hair, dressed in a blue official's robe, running straight towards the second madam's room. As I pursued it to the door, suddenly, an ominous thought flashed through my mind. I glanced at the compass, and the needle pointed directly back to Zhao Qiui's room. My heart shook. It was truly a lure the tiger out of its mountain lair scheme. Returning to Zhao Qiui's room, I found her a cold, lifeless corpse. The wound on her neck was identical to Wang San's, 2 black fang marks. I closed my eyes, letting tears fall, my heart filled with grief and self-reproach. I used a talisman to incinerate her body into ashes, remaining silent for a long time. My Taoist heart now grew even more resolute. The truth was but one step away. I went to the west wing room. The door I had kicked open was still wide. A dying candle flickered. The second madam lay on the bed, her back to me, seemingly in a deep sleep. I spoke in a cold voice. Second madam, this humble Taoist was incompetent, allowing Wang San and Zhao Qiui to die at the hands of the Jiangshi. She remained facing away, sighing, such an old illness, death is often the will of heaven. Master Taoist, you need not blame yourself. I bowed deeply. This humble Taoist could not save their lives. I am truly ashamed of having failed your trust, madam. I bid you farewell and shall return to the mountains. The second madam nodded. Master Taoist, take care and have a safe journey. I took 2 steps, then abruptly turned back. Ah, I just picked up your hairpin in the courtyard, madam. You must have dropped it when you ran too hastily while pretending to be the Jiangshi. Hearing this, her pupils constricted. She unconsciously raised a hand to her head, revealing a sleeve of purplish blue. I smiled, stroking my beard. Even at this moment, madam, you still refuse to admit your guilt. The wound on Master Wang's neck was absolutely not caused by a Jiangshi. Only someone close could inflict such a deep bite. Just now, when I arrived at the door, madam, fearing discovery, you hastily donned the Jiangshi's clothes and hid under the covers. I assume you were too frightened to wear your own clothes. Madam, if you are truly wearing the Jiangshi's attire, do you dare to get out of bed and take a few steps? Hearing my relentless words, the second madam's face cycled from pale to ashen, then she burst into a ferocious laugh. Little Taoist, you are indeed intelligent. What a pity intelligent people rarely live long. She flung the covers aside, revealing the full blue official's robe, her features twisted, a malevolent smile on her lips. She clapped her hands once. Come out, my good boy. With a rumble, the ground beneath the bed cracked open, dust billowing. A male figure dressed in an official's robe and court necklace, his flesh putrid and grayish-green, sprang from the ground, his verdant fingernails lunging straight for my throat. So that's it. The Jiangshi had always been hidden beneath the ground. Seeing the Jiangshi's iron claws about to touch me, I quickly retreated. In that instant, the verdant wood sword on my back spontaneously sprang from its sheath. Tipping my toes lightly, my body soared into the air, my hand firmly gripping the hilt. The The Jiangshi lunged past me from below, its sharp claws embedding deep into a wooden pillar. I seized the opportunity, my long sword stabbing directly into its lower abdomen. "My good boy, be careful." The second madam's voice suddenly rang out, sharp as a blade. The Jiangshi swung its arm like a staff, and with a thunderous crack, the peach wood sword was severed in two. Sparks flew from its arm. Wounded, it raged, its two green claws slicing through the air with a hiss, aiming straight for my neck. I rolled to dodge. In doing so, the wooden door beside me was shattered by its attack. Seeing me escape, its putrid face contorted with savage fury. Without a sound, it suddenly leaped over 10 feet high, soaring above the rafters, its body twisting like a dragon crossing waves, head towards the ceiling, then lunging down. In a blink, its sharp claws were about to pierce my eyes. I quickly drew a talisman from my robes, tapped it with my finger. Thwack! The talisman stuck firmly to the Jiangshi's forehead, and its body immediately plummeted like a broken-winged bird. It lay motionless. I closed my eyes, regulating my breath, intending to retrieve my azure flame axe to set it ablaze. But then, a sizzling sound. The immobilization talisman burst into flames on its own and fell to the ground. Truly formidable. Even talismans couldn't bind it. It sprang up like a coiled spring, charging towards me. I tapped my toes on a round table, vaulting backward. It stooped, tilting 45 degrees, chasing close behind, its sharp claws barely an inch from me. "Good boy, well done, bring his head to your mother," the second madam's insidious voice echoed. Seeing the Jiangshi obediently follow orders, a plan instantly formed in my mind. Clang! My wooden sword deflected its claws. I ignored the Jiangshi, my figure shooting straight towards the second madam, my sword point like a lightning bolt aimed directly at her chest. As I expected, just as the sword was about to touch her chest, a ashen face blocked it horizontally. Thwud! The sword pierced several inches deep into the Jiangshi's heart. It let out a stream of foul energy, its arms went limp, and it collapsed to the ground. Learning from experience, I quickly took out a fire-starting talisman and threw it onto its body. Only when the corpse had turned to ashes did I retrieve my sword. The second madam's face was now ashen white, and she was breathing shallowly. Knowing the battle was decided, she slumped onto the bed. I laid the sword horizontally across her neck. She closed her eyes, her voice trembling. "Sister Yangrong is gone, my life is meaningless. Just kill me." Seeing her resolute expression, I grew curious about a woman who could control a Jiangshi. "Who are you and Sister Yangrong? Did she also die by your hand?" "Yes." Hearing this, tears streamed down her face. The second madam, named Zhang Xiuying, was originally the daughter of the Zhang family in Tiantai County. At 18, her father accepted 5 gold ingots from Master Wang and married her off as his second wife. In troubled times, a father marrying his daughter into a wealthy family for money was not uncommon, but old Master Zhang had no idea he was sending his daughter into a living hell. Master Wang was cruel by nature and harbored strange fetishes. The first madam and Xiuying were nothing more than tools for him to unleash his depravity. He ordered an iron rod to be forged, and every time he entered Xiuying's room, he would use it to torture her half to death. Her desperate cries echoed throughout the courtyard, yet the servants acted as if they heard nothing. Only the first madam, whom she called Sister Yangrong, due to her compassionate nature, would occasionally come to comfort her, and each time she left, she would bring medicinal water to clean Xiuying's wounds. But that small warmth could not last. One night, after a round of torture, the first madam gave Xiuying a collection of women's adornments she had accumulated over many years, advising her to quickly leave this place. When Xiuying invited her to come along, she only said sadly, "I am accustomed to suffering. My youth has faded, and the master no longer cares for me." But Xiuying never imagined that she would meet a tragic end that very night. Before Xiuying could leave the house, the news was exposed. As she stepped out the door, she saw the first madam's naked corpse, her lips black with poison. Because he still coveted Xiuying's beauty, old Wang merely beat her half to death, but did not take her life. During her days of recovery, Xiuying harbored only one thought: revenge, to avenge Sister Yangrong. The first revenge plan Xiuying thought of was to use a Jiangshi to murder Master Wang. The Zhang family had ancestors in Jiangshi, and a secret manual for controlling Jiangshi was passed down in the family. In her childhood, Xiuying had accidentally stumbled upon it. Years passed, and the Zhang family all believed they were merely fictitious tales of their ancestors. Few paid them any mind. Xiuying herself didn't take them seriously back then. But now, the Jiangshi control techniques recorded in the book suddenly became her only hope. Having been married into the Wang family for a year, Zhang knew that secret tunnels connected Master Wang's and the madam's chambers directly to the Wang family's ancestral tombs. Therefore, suppressing her fear, she carried a red lantern, silently entering the burial chamber deep underground. It was arduous to push open the coffin lid. The stench that assaulted her nearly made her vomit. Inside the coffin lay a corpse dressed in a blue official's robe, wearing a court necklace, its putrid, pale face crawling with maggots. It was the previous generation's Master Wang, the current Master Wang's own father. Zhang stifled her nausea, took a blood-stained undergarment from her bosom, and placed it over the corpse's face. The family's secret manual stated that a corpse, if tainted with a woman's fresh blood, would revive as a child Jiangshi, bound to obey the one who caused its rebirth. She rejoiced, thinking that Sister Yanggrong's revenge was at hand. However, amidst the pervasive stench, she waited for a full hour, but the corpse remained as still as a mountain. Zhang extinguished her hope and returned to her room. After a period of contemplation, she gritted her teeth and decided, even without a Jiangshi, she would personally avenge Sister Yanggrong. Just then, Master Wang entered, an iron rod in hand, his face menacing. Zhang's expression suddenly changed. She feigned a welcoming demeanor. Waiting until he was lost in lust and his guard was down, she suddenly bent her head and bit deeply into his neck. Master Wang struggled frantically, but she held on, refusing to let go, until his flesh tore, blood gushed, and his breath slowly faded. Hearing this, I involuntarily sighed. Indeed, even the most hateful person has a pitiable side. Master Wang's death was well-deserved, but what sin did Wang San and Zhao Qiui commit that you had to kill them too? Zhang heard this, her brows shot up, her eyes blazing with fierce resentment. It was Zhao Qiui who secretly informed Wang Chengfeng that Sister Yanggrong told me to flee. And Wang San, he personally poured arsenic for Sister Yanggrong to drink. If not for them, how could she have met such a tragic end? This profound blood feud, how could I possibly let it go? Having spoken, she was still seething with anger, breathing heavily, her chest heaving violently. Hearing this, I nodded slightly, suddenly understanding why Zhao Qiui had once said that both she and Wang San were deserving of their fate. Zhang calmed herself, then gently pursed her lips and continued her story. After killing Master Wang, she secretly went out to bury her blood-stained clothes, then bathed and tidied herself. But as soon as she returned to her room, a problem suddenly arose: how to explain Master Wang's death. After much deliberation, she decided to blame everything on a Jiangshi. That night, she went to Master Wang's room and found the official's robe he had prepared for her. Around midnight, when Zhao Qiui went out to relieve herself, Zhang donned the robe and appeared before her. Sure enough, Zhao Qiui was so terrified that she wet her dress, screaming as she fled. Zhang hurriedly returned to her room, but as she pushed open the door, she nearly stumbled. Right behind the door stood a Jiangshi, its putrid face teeming with white maggots, its cloudy eyes fixed intently on her. The Jiangshi had truly revived. Knowing that the family's secret Jiangshi control technique was truly real, Zhang was overjoyed. She knew she could not only clear herself of murder suspicion, but also ensure that Wang San and Zhao Qiui, her two sworn enemies, would soon receive their just retribution. She immediately ordered the Jiangshi to eliminate Wang San. However, when dawn broke, the Jiangshi, afraid of the crowing rooster, allowed Wang San to luckily keep his life. Having narrowly escaped death, Wang San coincidentally learned of my existence from the village elder, which led to the events that followed. Hearing the full story, I looked at Zhang. Her expression was calm, yet the hand gripping the sword trembled slightly. On her face, there was no trace of fear. Instead, a faint sense of liberation shone through. "Go on, do it. Let me join Sister Yanggrong below." I hesitated for a long time, then finally lowered the verdant wood sword from her neck. "You may go. This humble Daoist sword only slays demons and monsters, not mortals." Early the next morning, I carried my peach wood sword and walked to the outskirts a few miles from the Wang Manor. I happened to encounter a maidservant bidding farewell to several monks and Daoists who had just completed their rituals. I recognized her as someone from the Wang family, so I approached to strike up a conversation. "Boundless life Buddha, this humble Daoist offers his greetings." The maidservant startled, but quickly composed herself, bowing respectfully. "Great Master, you've been busy these past few days. Has the ceremonial fee been paid in full?" I knew she mistook me for a Daoist performing funerary rites. I quickly shook my head. No, it's not about any fees. This humble Daoist is merely lamenting. The second madam of your manor truly suffered a cruel fate. Her parents forcibly married her to Master Wang. Fortunately, heaven had eyes, for if not for the first madam's kindness, the second madam would likely have fallen into Avasai hell by now. It is just that the events of last night have weighed heavily on my heart, and encountering a member of the Wang family, I spoke my thoughts freely. To my surprise, the maidservant burst into laughter. Where did this mad Daoist come from, speaking such outrageous nonsense? Everyone in the Wang family knows the second madam was greedy for wealth. She wasn't forced into marriage, she clearly chased after it herself. And what kindness did the first madam ever show? Because the second madam stole the master's affection, she repeatedly ordered her maids to torment her, sometimes with needles, sometimes with whips. The second madam likely hated her to the bone. With that, the maidservant cast me a look of utter disdain and slowly walked away. I stood as if struck by lightning, closing my eyes. Slowly, a picture entirely contrary to the second madam's tale unfolded in my mind. Unable to endure poverty any longer, Zhang Xiuying seized the opportunity and voluntarily married Master Wang, drawn by his immense wealth. Little did she know, life in the Wang Manor was not as Xiuying had imagined. The first madam constantly sought reasons to torment her, leaving her covered in injuries. Finally, Xiuying could tolerate it no longer. She used her accumulated gold and silver to bribe Zhao Qiui, the first madam's personal maid, and steward Wang San. She ordered Zhao Qiui to put arsenic into the soup the first madam had prepared for Master Wang, then instructed Wang San to feign a casual discovery of the poison. Master Wang, enraged, immediately commanded Wang San to poison and kill the innocent first madam. This was the well-deserved fate Zhao Qiui had mentioned. With the first madam eliminated, Xiuying suddenly realized that neither she nor the first madam had borne children. The problem, she concluded, must lie with Master Wang. Relying on a son to inherit the estate was likely a pipe dream. Thus, on the third day after the first madam's death, Xiuying's greed expanded to its peak, and she decided to eliminate Master Wang with her own hands. At this point, besides herself, there was no one else in the Wang Manor who was a direct family member of Master Wang. Once Master Wang died, all the family's assets would surely belong to her. Master Wang had to die, but blinded by greed, she remembered the family's secret Jiangshi manual and decided to use the Jiangshi's power for the deed. However, despite rummaging through the tomb for a long time, the corpse of Master Wang's father remained motionless. Ultimately, Xiuying decided to act herself. When Master Wang was sated and fell into a deep sleep, she acted like a Jiangshi and bit him to death. When Wang San and Zhao Qiui learned that Master Wang died in the second madam's room, they didn't care about the cause. They simply used the first madam's murder as blackmail, forcing her to split the family assets. Xiuying, fearing exposure, had to agree. But after they left, she suddenly thought, the first madam's death was a conspiracy of 3, but Master Wang's death was her doing alone. If Wang San reported it to the authorities, and the case was thoroughly investigated, she alone would bear the blame. Pondering it, Xiuying realized the only way to eliminate future threats was to make the Jiangshi story a reality. Little did she know, when she disguised herself as a Jiangshi and returned to her room, she encountered the real Jiangshi manifesting. At that moment, her murderous intent blazed. Xiuying decided to eradicate all roots of trouble once and for all, so it was all for money. Human hearts are more terrifying than any Jiangshi. How could this be? I muttered, stunned, standing motionless for a long time. Then I exhaled a murky breath, turning my head back towards the Wang Manor. I had to get to the bottom of this. Even if I couldn't kill her, I had to report her to the authorities. But as I reached the gate of the Wang Manor, an ominous premonition swelled within me. The sprawling manor was utterly silent, enveloped in an eerie stillness. Pushing the door open, I drew a sharp, cold breath. The courtyard was littered with corpses, including the maidservant I had just spoken to. On the neck of each body were 2 distinct black fang marks. The Jiangshi that Xiuying controlled had been incinerated by me. So where did this new one come from? Carrying this doubt, I rushed into Xiuying's room. Blood was splattered everywhere. Xiuying lay on the bed, her head having rolled to the floor. Witnessing this scene, I vaguely deduced the Jiangshi's identity. I went to the main hall. Sure enough, the coffin that had held Master Wang's body was now empty. The living breathed because they hold onto a breath, A Jiangshi exists because it cannot swallow its last breath. It seems Master Wang could not swallow his hatred. Placing the last bundle of kindling, I pulled out an azure flame talisman from my chest, lit it, and tossed it into the pile. Watching the blazing red flames engulf the entire Wang Manor, I silently closed my eyes. My Daoist mission was forever tarnished. My next target was Master Wang. I meditated for a long time, then resolutely turned on my heel, drew out my compass, and walked straight into the distance.